Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Shots on Target podcast. My name is Phil, joined by my man Jakey here.
What's good, everyone?
Now, today is going to be a bit of a different feel in terms of our podcast. We're actually going to touch on a touchy subject. We are going to be talking about the Greenwood situation. That's going to be the majority of the video. I know everyone's going to have some very strong feelings about this situation, us included. We're also going to do a little bit of talking about the Premier League as a whole over the weekend. I know Jake wants to touch some more about some officiating decisions that are plaguing the Premier League at the minute.
2 weeks in, 8 bad decisions. I think that's it. I don't even think it's 8. I think it's more than 8.
Yeah.
It's just getting pathetic now.
And then we will finish off with a little bit of transfer news, guys. So we hope you enjoy the video and we will get straight into it. So,
We shall.
the Greenwood situation.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I know it's split a lot of opinions on Twitter. I see a lot of people have said that he should come back, that, he deserves a second chance. I've seen a lot of people say that United have, finally come to the senses and made the right decision, me being one of them. I don't even think it should have been up for debate to bring him back. Everyone saw the audio. Heard the audio, sorry. We've seen the pictures. Not once has anyone come out and said they were fake. Automatically, that kind of draws into question, why hasn't this come to a decision sooner? Yeah, I think it's the right thing to terminate his contract. I don't think it should have ever been up for debate whether he should come back. I know the charges were dropped, but charges dropped don't exactly mean innocent.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's surprising that it took from the 16th to when was it, the 23rd, 21st?
Something like that, yeah.
Took them 5 or 6 days to come to a decision, simply because of the amount of backlash they would have gotten as a club. There was apparently internally, realistically, I think it was only the manager that wanted to bring him back, and obviously higher ups that agreed with the decision from Ten Hag. And there was rumours of staff walking out, charities and sponsors pulling out.
Yeah, well, they also put their...
And fans saying that they were going to stop supporting if he came back.
They also put their ladies team into dispute as well, because obviously the ladies didn't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, the fact that, it's such a tasteless thing to do, to essentially palm this off onto the female team, the female women's, the women's Man United team, to say, you make a decision, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Because that's just, that's just pouring petrol on an already lit flame.
Yeah, it is.
It was never going to go down well. And they kind of palmed off responsibility, kind of save face, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Man United were doing whatever they could to keep themselves as the good guys in this situation and not burn bridges while trying to deal with this whole situation. I mean, be all and end all is they wanted to keep him as a footballer. There's no doubt about that. They wanted to keep him as a footballer. It's just with everything piled on top, like you say, the fans, the sponsors, the charities, the ladies team, even the first team. There were people in that first team that were probably like, I don't want to play with that guy ever again.
Yeah.
And you just put all that together, and it just makes for a situation that they just couldn't bring him back. I mean, they even tried, like you say, they announced that he would be returning to the first team. Then all hell broke loose on social media. The fans went absolutely crazy, said they were going to boycott the club, switch allegiances because of the whole situation, and they had to save face and reverse the decision.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy situation for Manchester United when they're trying to focus on the football. I mean, you've got the Premier League starting, and they're trying to focus on getting the club to where they believe they should be, because Man United is a big club, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And things like this can tarnish a reputation of a club, even from just one player, and even not even it's a big player as such.
Yeah. I mean, I think when they were discussing bringing him back, they spoke to domestic abuse charities to gauge what reception it would be. and it was like all charities that they spoke to were hostile about the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of says it, that it shouldn't really have to go further than there.
Yeah. In all honesty, it was a fucked up situation for Man United. I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have liked to have been put in their place, the higher ups that had to deal with this situation, because, like, even for someone like Ten Hag, he's thinking, he's going through pre-season wondering, am I going to have Greenwood in my setup? Am I not? Do I plan for him being here or not? Stuff like that, and that can cause rifts, because he could literally put on, like, he could get into the changing rooms with the team, have Greenwood on the whiteboard, some player could walk in and go, what the fuck?
I mean, you look that realistically, that's either Anthony Rashford or Sancho's position.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't think any three of them are going to be too kind seeing his name on the on a whiteboard ahead of them.
Absolutely. I'll give my take on it though. I completely agree with you. I think, for me, the biggest thing is, as a professional, no matter what sport you're in, the rumour is worse than the conviction. The accusation will kill a professional. Now, in this case, the video was out there and it makes it 50 times worse for him. We don't know the whole situation behind it, granted, and we don't know what led to that moment, etc., and what happened afterwards. But we only know the cold hard facts that the video came out. It was clear as day for everyone listening to it. She was adamant that she was leaving him, and then all of a sudden the tables get turned. She ends up getting pregnant, gets back with him, and I honestly believe that's the only reason those charges got dropped. Without that, I think he is still on house arrest awaiting trial, personally.
If you remember, he was arrested for breaking the restraining order.
Yes, he was, yeah.
Because they were well, I don't know the full thing, but apparently they were still meeting up, and someone caught onto it, and he was rearrested for that.
Yeah.
Which already, again, what are you doing? Stupid decision.
Like I say, at the end of the day, we don't know the whole situation. It could be that they could love each other and it could have just been one moment. Like every couple has that moment, do you know what I mean? And this one was just unfortunately recorded, do you know what I mean? And then ended up posted on social media. She probably had to beg him to take him back after that if she really wanted to be with him and stuff like that. But as I say, we're not getting into relationship talk here. We're just talking about the cold hard facts football wise. But
Yeah.
from a fan standpoint, you don't want that sort of thing in the game, and I think even the Premier League wouldn't have condoned it, because if you imagine, like, if they did bring Greenwood back that first game where he starts, there would probably have been protests, there would have been people running on the pitch, there would have been death threats towards Greenwood. People feel very strongly about this sort of thing because there's just an unwritten rule: you don't raise your hand to a woman. It's just a simple ass rule. You just don't do it, no matter what situation. And there will be people there that would have felt strongly like that. So it would have been a very, very difficult situation for everyone involved. And I think they've come to the right decision. I mean, I don't think. I mean, Greenwood said in his statement that people will judge him because of what they've seen and heard on social media and think the worst. He was brought up to know the violence or abuse in any relationship is wrong. He did not do the things he was accused of, and he was cleared of all charges. Yes, he was cleared of all charges, but like I say, the rumour is...
It wasn't even cleared.
The rumour is worse than the conviction, because now who the hell is going to take a punt at Greenwood? He might still be a fantastic footballer, but who's going to put their club and their history on the line to give Greenwood a chance now? I don't think there'll be many clubs. I don't see very few clubs at all. Not at all. And this is the situation he's put himself in now. One wrong move as a professional can ruin your whole career. Regardless if he's not facing jail time, his career's probably over now, let's be honest. And it's just an unfortunate situation for all involved, because even as a fan, before this all came out, I thought Greenwood was a fantastic talent. He looked like the new Marcus Rashford, even better in places. Like whenever he'd come on for Manchester United, he looked like an absolute superstar. And there was talks of him, right before this came out, there was talks of him going into the first team as a starter the next season, and then this all came out. So it's just an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, but at the end of the day, don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
Yeah. It's very easy not to raise your hand to a woman. There's no right scenario where that's
Absolutely not.
feasible.
Now, I know you guys will have very strong feelings on this, and feel free to comment. Obviously, keep in mind YouTube do have rules in the comment section, so don't put anything too crazy on there. But we do want to hear your guys' views on this. So if you have watched the video, just pop a comment in. Just let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you think he should have been given a second chance? Because I do know some fans that do believe he should have been given a second chance. Because it is true that not one wrong decision should ruin your whole life, and I do understand that. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, when we're talking football wise, it kind of has to in this situation. There's no coming back from this in my eyes. But as I say,
So
go on, buddy.
the severity of what happened and the evidence that came out, it was over from the start. There was never a way back, no matter what the investigation found.
I agree.
It's one of them. Everyone's, like I said, everyone heard the audio. Everyone's seen the pictures that she posted.
Yep, absolutely. But like I say, we want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. So make sure to drop a comment below, guys, and we will be reading them, and we might even read a few out in the next episode. Yep. But so that's the Greenwood situation.
Yes.
We will be moving on now. So you wanted to touch on some officiating decisions in the Premier League now, Jakey. We get to actual football-related stuff now.
Another week, another set of atrocious decisions. And I think the one we should start with, and you know it'll come from a place of bias, but I've spoke to you, I've seen many opinions on Twitter, I've spoke to many people. McAllister's red card.
Yep.
What's he thinking? What is the referee thinking? And why wasn't it overturned? Like, I mean, like, why didn't VAR intervene?
Yeah.
Like, it's an absolutely bizarre situation. I can understand, right, if I can't mind who he's gone in to like the 50-50 with, but if his foot's planted and McAllister's gone knee height, yes, red card, 100%.
Yeah.
They've both challenged for the same ball. There's no force behind what, like, in how McAllister comes in, and he doesn't show studs. He comes in side-footed. The referee has a very, very good view of this as well. If at all, maybe McAllister blocks the referee's view and he can't fully see and he just sees a high foot. But, you know, even the commentators have been, like, were saying, it's not dangerous, it's not reckless.
Yep.
You know, he's not endangering the player. It's maybe a yellow at best.
No, I agree with you. I watched Match of the Day and Match of the Day 2, and both on there said it was just an appalling decision. And although obviously now it's been rescinded, and I mean it wasn't a hard one to rescind whatsoever. You only need a few looks at it, but the problem is it's like what Alan Shearer said on Match of the Day. Even though it gets rescinded and like McAllister now can play again, that could have cost Liverpool the game that day. Even at home against Bournemouth, they got away with it and played well even with 10 men and still ended up scoring a third goal and securing those 3 points. But on another day, that could have cost them the game, and that results
that costs us points.
Exactly, and results like that, especially in the Premier League now, City is such a powerhouse that you just have to stay consistent. You cannot drop points unneedingly, and you have to stay in that title race as long as physically possible. And you're right, that's a terrible decision. I think even Bournemouth fans can look at that and go, yeah, that was a correct decision.
Yeah.
Unless you're being sarcastic, then... But, yeah.
I mean, who's Bournemouth's manager? It's that Spanish bloke, isn't it? I can't remember his name. But he even said in real time it did not look like a red card. He said it didn't even look like a foul.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 ball. It's one of those where it was just a foul, simple as.
Now, I want to quickly touch on the West Ham Chelsea game.
Okay.
As there was an incident involving, I think it was Carney Chukwuemeka. Is that what he says now?
Chukwuemeka, yeah.
And that's the second time he's done a tackle like this, where he's gone in chest high and not been sent off for it.
See,
He did it against us, against Canate quite early on, and I think if that's any further into the game, he probably sees red. It's dangerous, it's reckless, you don't jump in feet high, chest high with your feet.
see, the chest high ones have always been a bit of a grey area for me in terms of officiating, because at the end of the day, the ball is at chest height, and chest height, like, you can like get your foot there. You like professional footballers can get their feet that high and nick the ball off them without making contact. It's just unfortunate. I actually disagree with you. I don't think they are red card situations, because I think that I still believe they count as like 50-50 situations, unless the ball's completely gone and then the foot hits the chest. Then fair enough, it's disgusting. But
I mean, the Chukwuemeka one when we played Chelsea, the ball was gone, and he's caught Canate in the chest, and he did get booked for it. And I think if that's any later into the game, that probably sees red.
see, I actually disagree. I think I watched that in real time as well, and I thought, oh, that's a yellow. You've not seen ever too many feet into the chest situations where they've resulted in a red card. I think
Nigel de Jong, Javi Alonso.
Probably that one.
Tyrone Mings should have seen it last year when we played them.
That's what I mean. So that's like a grey area in officiating when you get kicked in the chest. Because that's the thing, you always see it as like a 50-50 ball. If the ball's chest high, no one's ever got it under control. So it's very difficult for an officiate to literally give a red card for that. And I can understand their reasoning behind it. I do believe it's yellow cards. I don't think it's a red card situation. So we're going to have to disagree on this one. But
the one thing I will add is if when you look at the rules, and I don't know how when McAllister was sent off, this wasn't brought up, but is it deemed dangerous going in that high up with your foot that high? In my opinion, it is. Because if you all it takes is you catch them wrong, and that it cracks a rib and punctures a lung.
It's true, but then it's the same.
I think it's one of them. It's.
But then a lot of things in football can be very dangerous. Like for example, last weekend with Onana, when he should have seen red, that should have been deemed as very dangerous. But do you know what I mean? He's punching someone in their head, like very forceful with very strong gloves. Do you know what I mean? Like there are a lot of grey areas in football, and I do believe that's one of them. But no, I get your point, but I'm going to have to disagree on that one.
No, we'll agree to disagree. Next is the Tomiyasu red card.
This one's just ridiculous.
It's just not a red card.
No.
I don't even think it's a foul. It's a hand on the back and the guy falls over.
So I do want to
maybe
you can take though. Sorry to cut you off. I do want to take it back. So obviously at this point he's already on a yellow card, and at this point he shouldn't even be on a yellow card, because for anyone that did watch the game, so Arsenal were time wasting at this point, being 1-0 up, and Havertz takes 20-25 seconds to take a throw in, and then decides to drop the ball and give it to Tomiyasu, where the clock's still running. And then it gets to 35 seconds and Tomiyasu hasn't thrown the ball yet, and Tomiyasu is the one that picks up the yellow card. Absolutely ridiculous. The referee should know that Havertz is the one that wasted the most time and given him the yellow card and been smart about it. Tomiyasu was trying to get that throw-in taken because he knew Havertz had taken so damn long and that the card could be coming out, and just received the yellow card for it, which then puts him into the situation which you now will talk about.
Yeah. The red card is I get the whole new officiating thing is if it's a cynical challenge, it's a yellow card, but some form of fucking common sense has to come in and think, is that enough for it to be a red, for that to be a second yellow card offence? No,
I agree.
There's no there's contact, but it's in the middle of the pitch. He's not really going anywhere with the ball, so you can say it's a silly foul, but it's not. Common sense has to prevail that that's not a second yellow.
He's not pulling his shirt back, and it's right near the linesman as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also the point where it comes to where people are now saying VAR maybe need to start getting involved in these situations with yellow cards as well, because
that'll never happen. For the simple fact is, it shows
I
incompetence.
agree, it does, and I completely agree with you. But the problem is that, like, for your perspective of Liverpool, right? Yeah, you're okay now. You won the game, and you've got McAllister back for this weekend. Arsenal won the game, but they now do not have Tomiyasu because you cannot
Yeah,
rescind 2 yellows.
which I think is a silly fucking
It's
decision.
crazy. But no, totally agree.
Yeah. Then the Tim Ream second yellow card. It was a second yellow, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I believe, yeah. So, for those who haven't seen it, if you haven't watched Match of the Day or seen it on Twitter because it was floating about for a bit, ball comes over, Wissa controls it, he feels an arm on his shoulder, and he goes down. Now, you can say, yeah, maybe a penalty. It's a soft penalty because, it's the whole deemed, is there enough contact? Probably not. But that then forces the referee's hand and he sends Tim Ream off.
Yep.
Again, it's not a red card. I would go as far as to say it's not even a foul. I don't think there's enough contact at all. It's a slight hand on the shoulder. Wissa makes the most of it. He doesn't have the ball under control, so he's not really going anywhere with it. It's possibly the softest penalty I've seen and one of the worst red cards I've seen out of just this week alone.
I agree. It's one of those where I believe that the referees actually had more common sense last season where there was a lot of bad decisions than this year, because it's like right now, fair enough, if the ref thinks it's a penalty, that's fair enough, but if he thinks it's still a soft penalty, the guy's already on a booking, have a bit of common sense. Like, even if you think it's a penalty, give the guy a bit of
Leeway.
Yeah, give the guy a little bit of leeway here in this situation. But the referees just seem to be so set in their rules. It's like they obviously had a massive discussion on the off season and came up with all these new rules and how they were going to be harsh with the time wasting and the kicking the ball away and the contact now, and they're just literally following it to the letter of the law now so harshly that their common sense has just completely gone out of their minds now. It's like they're just following a script, referees. And they're like, oh, if I get the script wrong, VAR will cover me. They're not even refereeing at this point. They're just there to fill the numbers, do you know what I mean? In a sense. And It's just... Something needs to change. And I do believe it will change, because the more and more...
Well, it has
the more and more it comes out like this and these decisions happen and the referees will keep getting blamed for it and they'll have to make a change. Simple as.
Yeah. And the last one I want to touch on, it wasn't so much it was an interesting one. It was the Aston Villa penalty against Everton.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think it's a penalty. I don't think Pickford touches him. I watched the game. I saw it live, and when they looked back over it, in fact, I know it's the intent. But you kind of have to then take into consideration he's not actually touched him. There is no contact for him to go down.
I agree. That one again is another grey area for me. On one hand, I can see why it was given as a penalty, but if it wasn't given, 100%. I could also understand. I think it's because when the ref initially gives the penalty, VAR's job then is to decide, has the referee made a mistake? Is it a clear and obvious mistake? And at that point, VAR's never ever overturning it.
Nah.
As soon as that decision is made on field, that is a penalty, and you can see why it was given, but I can understand if it wasn't given on field.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those where I think if the ref wouldn't have given the penalty and it would have gone to VAR, the same thing would have happened. They wouldn't have changed their mind.
Yeah. 100%. I think at that point, I think he has to be sent to the monitor, personally.
Yeah, I agree, but
I think he has to have a better viewing of that, because seeing that in real time, yes, he does look like he makes contact. He does look like he just fucking punches him.
Yeah.
And then when you watch it back, there is actually no contact. There's no touch at all. He just falls over and wins the penalty. And by that point, the game's already gone.
Yeah. I agree.
So, like...
Well,
but it's one of them.
We spoke a bit about the officiating, but we'll now go through just a really quick Premier League rundown. So obviously we spoke about the Fulham red card, Brentford getting a lovely 3-0 win,
not missing Tony at all,
looking very good. Obviously we spoke about Liverpool still managing a 3-1 win even with the McAllister decision against Bournemouth. Could be a very big 3 points in the grand scheme of things with the 10 men.
Yeah, huge 3 points.
Poor Luton had their game postponed against Burnley because they've still not got a stadium. Hopefully we'll be able to see them in the Premier League soon at a stadium. Wolves flying absolutely high. A 4-1 win away to Brighton flying high. A 4-1 win away to Wolves. They're just ticking along as you expect Brighton to do. Even they sell some of their big players and still just do what they do.
De Zerbi's a fantastic manager.
He really is.
He's so good.
So one of the biggest results of the weekend, Tottenham beating Manchester United 2-0. A fantastic result for Tottenham fans. And I'll be honest, without Harry Kane, I'm going to have to say, if they keep up the way they're doing, I would actually eat my own words because I thought they would very much struggle without Harry. But it seems like there's a fresh new air at Tottenham now. It's like we don't have to rely on Harry Kane to get the job done for us now. So we're all going to actually finally perform now. It's like, we've got Harry Kane, we don't have to do this and that. Do you know what I mean? But now it's like, right, we have to really perform, and they're showing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's quite reminiscent of when we lost Gerrard and when we lost Coutinho, because they were two players that we always just really heavily relied on. And when we lost them, other players really had to step up and take their role. And you can see it in Spurs at the minute.
Yeah.
I think Ange's got them playing some very good football. I might have been a bit too harsh on them.
Possibly. So we got Man City grinding out a 1-0 win against Newcastle in the very late game on Saturday evening. This was always going to be a tough game for Newcastle, even how well they're playing. Was interesting to see, obviously, no De Bruyne, Foden playing in the 10. Yeah. I think he had a fantastic game in the 10. I think Guardiola now surely realises you can't play that guy out wide. He's just lost out there. Shows what he can do in the middle. Is he the answer till De Bruyne comes back? I'd say so, personally. I think Foden's a fantastic player still. You had Alvarez scoring an absolute banger.
Yeah, that was an unreal strike. I do think Man City are going to miss De Bruyne, though. As good as Foden is, that drop-off in ability between De Bruyne and Foden, it really is impacting them. And you can see how it's impacting Haaland in some games. Yeah. I mean, against Seville, he looked like a ghost. He just kind of looked like a passenger. And against Newcastle, the same thing. He's not getting in them positions or getting in using
I'd say
being used.
I'd say the ball's not going into the positions where Haaland is operating.
Yeah,
that's the problem. But no, I totally agree with you. But moving on to Sunday, so we had Villa Everton. Aston Villa absolutely piecing Everton. Good God.
Yeah.
This was an absolute rout. Mistakes all over the place from Everton at the back. They look shocking. They had again they lost Calvert-Lewin to injury, a really bad eye injury it looked like.
Michael Keane nearly getting a hat-trick of assists.
Yeah. It was just ridiculously poor from Everton's perspective, and it's not looking good for them.
It's not at all.
And then we'll move on to probably the biggest shock of the weekend, even from me as a West Ham fan, us beating Chelsea 3-1. I think it was a very weird game. James Ward-Prowse showing why we spent the money on him. His delivery is just unbelievable to open the scoring. Chelsea still pretty much dominated for 80% of the game, and got a deserved equaliser. Then we went 2-1 up through a counter where Chelsea's also dominating. Then we get a guard sent off for a ridiculously stupid challenge.
Yeah, it's such a...
to do that...
You 2-1 up, you don't need to make that tackle.
Not on a booking already, no chance.
No.
Not on a booking. But then Chelsea were obviously still dominating. We showed what West Ham are pretty much famous for, which is the 10-man block. Or the 9-man in this case block.
Everyone behind the ball.
Yeah. And then we ended up getting up the pitch and getting a penalty through Chelsea's new £150 million signing Caicedo, and finished off the game. And
I think the game changed when he came on, for the worst in terms of for Chelsea. because he looked like a fish out of water.
He did.
He did not look like an £115 million player.
He did. And I also want to touch on something I didn't mention was obviously where Chelsea won a penalty to go 2-1 up. And Enzo missing that penalty, for me, that was the biggest game changer, because at that point we were pinned in. Raheem Sterling looked like a brand new player. Like, he's looked amazing at the start of this season. He looked fresh, sharp, on edge, and he was creating everything. Him and Nicholas Jackson were creating everything in that Chelsea team and were tearing us apart a little bit, but we were just holding on. Then obviously conceding the penalty, which I agree was a penalty. It touches the hand. There isn't too much to say on that situation. And Enzo missed it. And we got the 3 points.
I'll ask the question, was it encroached?
No.
Did Areola encroach?
No, he didn't, no. He had 1 foot behind the line still. Don't matter if he's got 1 foot over. He read him, simple as. He read him and made a good save. It was a poor penalty anyway.
Yeah.
And then finally, Arsenal, Monday Night Football, away to Crystal Palace. Always going to be a tough game for Arsenal, this. First game without Timber, missing from injury. I think Arsenal played well in patches. They scored, obviously, for a penalty where it was a fantastically worked quick free kick to Nketiah, where he beats the goalkeeper to the ball and keeper takes him out. I was very surprised, though, to see Odegaard on spot kick duty over Saka. That actually quite surprised me, but he dispatched it and put Arsenal 1-0 up heading into half time. Oh no, this was in the second half, I believe, actually. Yeah, it was in the 53rd minute. And then obviously we spoke about the Tomiyasu red card, which could have changed the game for Arsenal in a bad way, but I just want to touch on one of the big reasons why they were able to hold on, and that is their £100 million signing, Declan Rice. He did exactly what they brought him to do. It's like I said to one of my Arsenal mates. I said, in the games where you're dominating, he will probably look like a shadow out of water because he doesn't have anything to do. But when you need to hold a 1-goal lead in a big game, he's your man. And for me, he proved it. Maybe a little bit of bias because everyone knows how much I love Declan Rice, player. But it was refreshing to see that Arsenal fans are finally realising, because I think a lot of Arsenal fans expected him to come in and maybe score a few more goals and be more like a Granit Xhaka. He's not going to do that. He will get forward and he will create chances and he will probably score goals for Arsenal in games, but it's one of those where his biggest duty will be what he did on Monday night, which is defending for your life and winning those loose balls, getting you up the pitch. That is what Declan Rice will do, because he's done it for years at West Ham. He's so used to that situation now that it's just simple as, really.
Yeah.
But that's the Premier League rundown. We're actually running a few minutes over, but we're going to still touch on a little bit of the transfer window. Not really too much to say. I mean, Neymar has made his move to Saudi Arabia.
Gabriel Vieira has essentially thrown away his career for money as well.
Yeah.
He joins Al Ahly.
Just this minute, or 38 minutes ago, Laporte has moved to Al Nassr. But I'm just looking at now, obviously Man United are trying to get Amrabat, and he was left out of their ECL squad, so that move could be on the horizon. We're close.
Al Ittihad are trying to sign Mohamed Salah.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
One happened.
No, not a chance.
His agent already came out and said, look, if he wanted to leave, he wouldn't have signed a new contract.
Yes, there's no chance. Obviously, Man City are trying to find a replacement for Paqueta now because of all this stuff with the betting allegations. So looks like Paqueta's going to stay a West Ham player. Thank you, betting allegations. And we're closing in on a £37 million Kudos deal, which I think is going to be a fantastic signing for West Ham. Don't get me wrong, I still want a out-and-out striker. We have been linked with El Nassiri from Sevilla, and if we could get that over the line as well by the end of the window, I'm doing backflips around the garden. But I personally think if we do confirm this Kudos deal, I think that will probably be the end of West Ham's spending for the summer.
It's also, Morata has said yes to Juventus for the third time.
Okay.
He's available for 20 million, the biggest money laundering deal ever. I don't get how he. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Obviously,
Honestly, you could put money on him going back to Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid next season, and it wouldn't shock me if it happened.
probably not. No, he'll go wherever wherever he's wanted, basically. Obviously, Mbappe's in PSG contract talks right now because if he's going to play this season, he needs to sign a new contract. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Well, I thought his contract ran out at the end of this year.
It does, but that's why they're doing it. So they're making him sign a contract extension to play this season because otherwise they're not. They're basically saying to him, "You cannot play this season and leave on a free." So it's basically saying, if you want to play this season, you need to sign a contract extension so we get money for you next year, basically. It only needs to be a 1-year extension, simple as, but they need that 1-year extension to at least get something for him. They don't want him to leave on a free, simple as. Doku, the young Belgian kid, set for his £55 million move to the Etihad. I think that'd be a very good signing for Manchester City, a very good young Belgian player. He's shown glimpses of talent, and I'm sure Pep Guardiola is probably the best manager to pull out talent, so that'll probably be a very good move. And I think that pretty much brings us up to date with the transfer window. Obviously, we've got 1 week left of the window. This is where it's crunch time for all the clubs now. They've seen how their clubs perform in the Premier League and around the world now, and they'll be seeing exactly where they need to improve. Like, for example, a defensive midfielder for Man United is key, with Casemiro now looking his age. Amrabat would be a fantastic addition to that.
Casemiro looked fucking horrible against Spurs.
Yeah, he looks old.
He just looks like he's lost it.
Yeah, he looks old. He looks like he had a one season where he was still Casemiro, and now he's just looking old. And you can understand it. He is getting old, and in that position, you do probably some of the most running. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you can understand it for sure. There's nothing on Casemiro. He's just not got it anymore. And Man United have realised that while they're going for Amrabat. But yeah, as we say, only a week left. Crunch time. There's going to be some panic buys. There's going to be some last minute deals. And obviously we'll have one more episode before the transfer window shuts down, and then the episode after that will be a complete transfer window rundown through the whole window. We'll rank teams in the Premier League from 1 to 5, how they got on in their window, and all that good stuff. But that's going to do it, guys. Apologies, it's ran a bit longer than usual, but we did have that Greenwood situation talk that we knew would go for quite a bit anyway. So we did.
And I had my ramble about officials.
Yeah. So if you're gonna roast anyone, roast Jake in the comments. Why not? But once again, thank you so much for watching, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to like and subscribe. Tell your friends, your family, and their relatives. Let's get the word out there that the Shots on Target podcast is going to be one of the biggest in the world. You heard it here first.
Make sure you're following us on Twitter as well and Facebook.
Absolutely. Links will be in the description below, guys. And we will catch you in the next one.
See you later, guys.